Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough, and welcome to the Summer of SpongeBob finale. Now, before we begin today's episode, let's do a quick recap. It's been a wild ride going down the monolith that is the SpongeBob SquarePants franchise. We've looked at the overall series, the merchandising, what's often hailed as its best video game, one of the original board games, food tie-ins, a creepypasta, some of the home video releases, 2 theatrical movies, most of the specials, counted down my top 10 favorite songs from the show, and even a lot of fan-created content. And even then, there's still so much more that I haven't talked about. There's a few DVDs and specials that I haven't looked at, fanfics and subgenres of videos like SpongeBob Lego videos, as well as the amazing Help Wanted collaboration animation. Seriously, if you haven't seen this video, go watch it right now. It is so good. And people have asked me if I'd ever look at more SpongeBob video games, and the answer for all of this stuff is I might do potential reviews on these things in the future, but as soon as this review is done, I want to take a break from most of the SpongeBob stuff, but I will get to them eventually. With all that said, let's begin by looking at one of the biggest monoliths that helped SpongeBob get into the live entertainment scene, Universal Studios. In 1988, Nickelodeon partnered with Universal to create Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida, a place to do live recordings of game shows like Double Dare. There was even a variant in California called Totally Nickelodeon, which lasted 1997 to 2000. While Nickelodeon Studios shut down in 2005, they still wanted to do business together for more collaborations. When it comes to theme parks, it's either be bought out by Disney or partner with their biggest competition, Universal. And Nick already did the latter, so they figured that they could release theme park attractions and live shows under them. Mainly because Nick was worried that they weren't able to sustain any of their own brand power to create their own theme park. In the year 2000, one of Nick's big kickoff events at Universal was the live show Rugrats Magic Adventure. While I haven't seen the show myself, nor have I seen an upload of it that anyone recorded, I've heard that it wasn't very good. But soon, just a year later in 2001, the big main event would be opened, Nick Blast Zone, a water park slash splash area based around Nick's biggest properties.
You can't miss the towering Nickelodeon rockets blasting out 12,000 gallons of water an hour. While in Wild Thornberry's Adventure Temple, you'll have a ball. Over 10,000 of them.
Meanwhile, back in Orlando, one of the biggest Nickelodeon-themed attractions ever was Jimmy Neutron's Nicktoons Blast. Replacing the Funtastic World of Hanna-Barbera, this ride was opened in 2003 and closed in 2011 to make way for Despicable Me Minion Mayhem. You know, I said the ride wasn't that bad in my review, but seriously? Anyway, like a lot of Universal's inventory, it's a motion simulator, showing Jimmy, Carl, and Goddard flying around the back lots of Nickelodeon while trying to stop the Yokians again.
Nice catch! Hey, Arnold!
They said it. As the crew fly through the Rugrat world, with no one really alarmed by the fact that there's a rocket flying around and smashing through windows, the crew end up in Fairy World from Fairly Odd Parents, just a year before they did Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. The fairies teleport the ship to the Yokian planet, and we get some trademark Universal cart thrusts.
You know, there's one more friend that's been looking very forward to seeing you.
Ultra! Hang on, everybody! This is gonna get fluffy! Whoa! Stop him, you idiot!
Hey, wait a minute, this is part of a SpongeBob review. Where the heck is SpongeBob at?
Prepare to splash down. Okay, whatever you say.
SpongeBob, look!
Wow! A rocket-powered jellyfish! Here, jelly!
Oh, there he is. I would ask how they're able to breathe underwater, but this show did once lampshade the fact that they're able to breathe in space, so now I'll let it slide.
Hello, Larry. Hello, Sandy. Whoa! Morning, Mrs. Pop. Hello, secondary characters.
I thought it was funny. After losing SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs in the pipes, the crew land back in Jimmy's lab, but Ruh-Roh, King Goobot, traps Jimmy in a bubble and forces the audience to do the chicken dance, but he's defeated by Carl using Cosmo's wand.
Oh, poo.
Nice shot, Carl!
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Check this out. Llama.
Well, thanks for helping me save the universe. Got a blast!
Overall, Jimmy Neutron's Nicktoons Blast was a pretty fun ride. While it does make sense that the ride would get replaced because Jimmy Neutron was no longer on TV and Despicable Me is one of Universal's more popular brands, this was still a fun ride when it was up and running. For the generation that grew up watching these shows and finally getting to see them all together in one cool motion simulator was awesome. While nothing particularly breathtaking, I would still rank it slightly higher than Minion Mayhem, just purely based on nostalgia. Before we had any TV crossovers or crossover games, this ride was a fun little Nicktoon experience. Now on to another motion simulator, except this time SpongeBob's the star attraction. This is the 2 SpongeBob 4D rides. These rides are stationed in so many different areas: theme parks, zoos, malls, aquariums, and museums all around the world. However, it has had a fair share of being shut down, replaced, or even scrapped from various areas as well. A lot of the time being replaced by other 4D shows like Shrek and Happy Feet. Though some of these places did replace it with its 2014 sequel ride, The Great Jelly Rescue. We begin with the painting pirate throwing the audience down into Bikini Bottom, where they're sprayed with water from hidden dispensers in the back of seats. We land on SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs preparing a Krabby Patty when a rogue pickle hops away.
That pickle! Weird. I didn't even know Patrick owned a pogo stick.
Hey, is that my patty?
Not yet it isn't. For you see, this patty is incomplete!
SpongeBob then blows up a bubble bike and begins chasing after Patrick on the pogo stick.
Now let's see. If I'm going to catch Patrick, I must first think like Patrick. Oh!
No, that's not how you do a Patrick impression. This is how you do a Patrick impression.
Hi, I'm Patrick Star. I'm the laziest, pinkest starfish in Bikini Bottom.
SpongeBob ends up passing Patrick and makes a wrong turn down rock bottom, as the audience is then thrusted downwards.
You okay, new guy? Well, at least the bubble bike made it. Die! Hey, let's go!
Hey, is that my patty?
Not yet.
I love how nonchalant this guy just walks into scenes and then just immediately leaves.
Where'd you come from?
The bubble bike gets popped and SpongeBob gets flung all the way back up, landing in the chum bucket, where it's revealed that there are 2 Patricks. The one on the pogo stick we've been following is actually an evil robot built by Plankton.
Robotic Patrick has lured you and that delicious patty right into my fiendish hands. Now hand it over!
Never! You can't make me!
Maybe I can't, but the Patbot 3000 can. Hydraulic metal structure to crush your bones. Titanium-tipped ripping saw to cut your flesh. And a paddle ball! Made from rubber and wood. And a staple.
SpongeBob gets chased around for a little bit, and just as it seems that he's done for, Patbot is defeated by Patrick just unplugging him to plug in a toaster.
Oh, sorry. Can I use this outlet? Well, at least I still have the pickle. Oh! Well, this stinks.
And now for the big punchline. The guy that wanted his patty the whole time is actually allergic to pickles.
Hey, is that my patty?
Yes, sir!
I asked for no pickles?
No pickles, ha ha ha.
No, you don't understand.
Great Jelly Rescue begins with SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy at Jellyfish Fields, as it seems the jellyfish begin swarming somewhere outside of the fields. After the crew get dragged through Goo Lagoon, they soon find out where the jellyfish are going. They're being drained of their electricity by Plankton for some evil scheme against the Krusty Krab.
I'm draining these jellyfish of all their dangerous electricity so I can use it to destroy the Krusty Krab. Pretty cool, huh? Oh, and I should also mention my electric cannon!
After they try to follow Plankton to stop him, they end up damaging the Flying Dutchman's ship. And how does he punish them? Throw them in Davy Jones' locker? Fly of Despair? The perfume department? No, he forces them to disco dance for all of eternity. Set to the tune of Party Rockin' by LMFAO. Hey, it could be worse, could be sexier and I know it.
We didn't cause those toxins out there. Plankton did.
Well, why didn't they say so?
Because they're them.
So with the Dutchmen now on their side, they decide to take out Plankton's attempts at destroying the Krusty Krab by accidentally launching themselves.
Krusty Krab will be mine!
Hello, jellyfishers. I salute thee.
Yet still more of a climax than Ariel's undersea adventure. Hey, I mean, that ride was good, but you gotta admit, them skipping Ursula's death scene was really lame.
Did real well for your first time out.
Yeah, not bad.
Sayonara.
Undersea journey comes to an end.
These are both really good rides. They're good motion simulators, from the shaking of the audience with what's happening on screen to stuff like the waterworks. Especially the second one, which has a lot more movement with characters falling and flying through the air. The CG in the first one is decent, but it seems like they fixed up a lot of those problems for the sequel. And as a way to show off CG SpongeBob just a year before Sponge Out of Water, it's a decent move. The stories are also good for motion simulators. Most of them follow the characters flying throughout wacky settings based on the world that the franchise takes place in. Even the best ones like The Simpsons and Harry Potter do this, and these do a solid portrayal of that too. The first one showing off most of the areas like the city, downtown areas, Rock Bottom, Krusty Krab, and Chum Bucket, and the second one showing off Jellyfish Fields, Goo Lagoon, the Dutchman's Ship, and even general background areas that aren't specific to the show are well designed. Overall, the SpongeBob 4D rides are entertaining, well executed, and very well written. P.S. Better 4D than Spy Kids! Another venue for SpongeBob Live Entertainment was when Nick had its own getaway resort, the Nickelodeon Hotel. Opening in 2003, the Nick Hotel was Nick's very own venue for vacationing families. They pulled this off by partnering with Holiday Inn, and in a convenient location because it wasn't too far from Disney. It was less than Universal, but they were still in Universal's good graces. I mean, after all, at the Nick Hotel's gift shop, they were selling both Nick and Universal merchandise. The place had 1 to 3 room suites, and even honeymoon suites that they eventually scrapped. The 2-room suites and 3-room suites came with kids' rooms that had Nick Show-themed wallpaper, TVs, CD players, and even PlayStation consoles, with games that you could either rent in the lobby, or you could just bring along with the family. This place had a water park area with a giant signature Nickelodeon slime bucket that would dunk onto visitors, small pool area, a river, restaurants, a food court, rooms for live shows, activity rooms for game shows, and of course, walk-around characters. It just so happens that one of the live shows at this place was a SpongeBob live show.
SpongeBob, today is my day off, and I am planning a relaxing day. I do not want you two barnacle heads ruining it!
But Squidward, today is the day that we honor the greatest sandwich in the 7 seas, the Krabby Patty!
And there was also a Christmas-themed live event called Celebrate Nickmas. As for what happened to this place, it ended up getting reverted back into a Holiday Inn after Nick ended partnership with them, as they began partnership with Charisma Hotels, who would later open a Nick-themed resort in the Dominican Republic in 2016. A key reason was because of lack of interest, with a lot of guests wanting to explore the Orlando area and the fact that the resort wasn't near a beach. And it didn't help that Nickelodeon didn't really have much presence at Universal since they got rid of Nickelodeon Studios and Nicktoons Blast. And a major reason was a lot of the rooms were developing problems, to say the least. But ever since then, they have cleaned up. In this review of SpongeBob Live Entertainment, let's actually look at their biggest one to date, the SpongeBob Broadway musical. The show premiered in Chicago in 2006, then later hit Broadway in 2017 and 2018, and is going to be playing in New York next month in September at the Proctor's Theater. The plot is about the Bikini Bottomites preparing for a volcano that's going to destroy the city. The only ones who devise a plan to stop the oncoming destruction is SpongeBob, Sandy, and Patrick.
We have a volcano to defeat, and we need you on the team. Brains, brawn, and though I don't have a special skill to bring to the table, I'm coming too.
As the rest of the town breaks down into panic mode, a plan is conceived amongst them to create some kind of charity concert. Squidward is given the job of the assistant to the band that's going to be performing for the concert, all the while wanting to perform his own musical number.
I'm gonna show them what I got! Hit it!
Good news!
Mr. Krabs tries to take advantage of the freak out by making a gimmick to sell more Krabby Patties, and Plankton plans to hypnotize the entire town into liking his chum products. Patrick is soon taken up as a messiah-like figure by this group that consider him a genius, and he soon abandons the rest of the group.
You simply be together no matter what!
Unless I became the savior, didn't I say that?
No.
Pretty sure I said that.
What about our team?
Until his conscience catches up with him and he returns to help our heroes in the final act. Of course, the town is saved, and SpongeBob lifts everyone's spirits back up to the happy-go-lucky world it was at the beginning of the show. Even Patchy gets a couple of interlude segments and shows up in the last number. The production work, like the props, lighting work, and costumes are really well done. The performers do a wonderful job putting their own spin on the characters. Ethan Slater, Danny Skinner, and Lily Cooper capture the characters from the show perfectly as SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. They actually expand upon characterization and interaction with characters like Mr. Krabs and Pearl, and my personal favorite being the interactions between Plankton and Karen.
Sheldon, this is the best plan you've had in years.
You mean that?
By the time we reach Chumville, everyone will love Chum.
Lost the name.
Yeah, I got that.
But my personal favorite out of everybody in the cast has to be Squidward. Gavin Lee embraces Squidward's inner thespian and goes delightfully hammy with it.
Someday, I will play the Bikini Bottom Bandshell. But before time runs out, I will prove you right. I'm a pretty squid, Mama.
On to the music. Yes, it's amazing. From the opener and finisher song, a heartfelt rendition of Best Day Ever before the town's supposedly going to be destroyed, Plankton's rap, a holy gospel-influenced tune done to tribute Patrick, and my personal favorite, Squidward's song, because it's such a big production that fits the character perfectly. The humor in this show is really well done. From the funny dialogue, sound effects, running gags, and even minor callbacks to elements of the SpongeBob franchise, always got a chuckle out of me all throughout.
I knew this was another one of your schemes, you lousy.
How dare you call me a...
50 years later.
Bonus comes right up.
5 quarts of Goofy Goober ice cream barnacle flavor.
Nuts.
19 assorted shiny objects.
It's as scary as a... There ain't no simile for something like this.
Done! And just in time. I'd like to suggest myself.
You? Not bloody likely.
Is that all, Hades?
But if you keep going like this, it won't matter either way. There won't be anything left to say.
Deep thoughts, SpongeBob, of a
I'm not finished!
It's about 2 hours long, but if you're a fan of SpongeBob and you like Broadway musicals, I highly recommend checking it out, either on YouTube or even going to see it in person if you really want to. Well, this concludes Summer of SpongeBob, and again, I might do some one-off SpongeBob videos in the future, but for now, I think it's time to bring the Summer of SpongeBob to a proper close. As for what's next on MediaWiz, since we've been talking about theme parks this video, I want to do another theme park related video, so next video is actually going to be a request, and I'm going to be looking at the local PA theme park called Knoebels. Until then, I'm the MediaWiz, because one art form wasn't enough.